Hello, Crafty Crandall here, and today I want to share with you some of my favorite art supplies. I am primarily a watercolorist, and I have tried so many different supplies to get where I am, and I have found some real gems in the amount of supplies that I've used. So today I'd like to share those with you so that you can see which ones are my favorite and kind of why I recommend them. Let's start our conversation of my favorite water supplies with what I consider to be the very most important supply that there is, watercolor paper. Now, I have tried so many different types of paper, and even one of the ones that I've tried is not yet represented here. So I'm going to mention 3 different papers for you across 3 different types of watercolor paper. This is the Pentalic watercolor sketchbook. It has this little flap here for holding a pen or a brush. It has a ribbon to keep your place, and the paper quality in this sketchbook is just so good. It's 100% cotton paper, and it lays very flat. So if you are using this on a surface, it will lay very flat for you, which is why I like it. I also think that this size is just a good one for sketchbooks because there's not so much pressure within this sketchbook to really create a very finished piece. It is very much a sketchbook. The paper, if you can see here, is also very textured, so I really like it for that. And overall, this is my favorite watercolor sketchbook that I own. I have tried the Moleskine ones. I have tried other watercolor sketchbooks, Handbook Journal Co., Travelog, etc. However, that one has by far been my favorite. Now let's talk about sheet watercolor paper. Now, I have tried, again, several different types of sheet watercolor paper, and the Arches cold press paper has by far been my favorite. This is also fairly affordable as far as Arches paper goes. So if you're going to get Arches paper, probably your best way to do that is to buy it in these sheets. They do sell block watercolor paper, but it is extremely expensive, and I actually have a different block watercolor paper that I prefer that I'll talk about in a second. But as far as sheet watercolor paper goes, I always gravitate toward this one, not only for the price, but for the quality as well. This paper, again, is extremely textured and very nice. It comes in this 9x12 size, which personally I find is just perfect for watercolor paper. I can cut it down easily to any size that I'm looking for, or leave it in this 9x12 size if I don't plan on framing it or don't have a specific size in mind. Now, I have not tried the Arches hot press paper, so I can't speak to that, but I can speak to this really fantastic cold press paper. It is well worth the money and is a really great watercolor investment. Now, the third type of paper I don't actually physically have anymore here in my studio. However, it is the Hahnemuhle cold press watercolor block paper. It is the Cezanne one, Hahnemuhle Cezanne. It is a fantastic paper. I highly recommend it. I will insert a picture of it as well as a link to where you can buy it. It is very pricey. However, I have absolutely loved using it, and I do find that it is worth the money to repurchase. So if you're looking to invest in a high quality watercolor paper block that will not let you down, then this is definitely one to consider. Alright, now I would imagine that one of the most important supplies that you're looking to hear about is watercolors. First, let's talk about this Kneaded watercolor palette. This is the 3rd one of these that I have purchased, and I love these palettes so much. They've got really great mixing areas, they do lay pretty flat, and they don't transfer color too badly. Now, you can see definitely at some points they did transfer. This might have been from actually some acrylic ink that I was using on this palette, but overall they do stay pretty clean, and the paint wells up really nicely in these palettes. So I do recommend the Kneaded watercolor palettes. And further, of course, I recommend the Sennelier aquarelle professional watercolors. They are just a joy to work with. They are fantastic for glazing, and they are the best artist quality paints that I personally have used in my watercolor experience. The Sennelier colors are just the top and bottom rows here. The middle colors vary across different brands, but the ones that I want to highlight in this video are the Sennelier colors. They are beautiful colors. They are rather transparent, which is fantastic for glazing techniques, and they are just tried and true. I've used these paints for years, and I have loved them every step of the way. They are dependable, they are predictable, and you know exactly what you're getting when you use them, which I think is really valuable for more of a beginner in watercolor. They are not super unpredictable, they're not granulating, they're not moving around a whole lot. They go where you put them, they mix very well, and they're just really good, dependable watercolors. Next, I would like to talk about my sketching equipment. So my very favorite pencils to use are the Derwent graphic pencils in various lead hardnesses. So I use these a ton. I have repurchased them again and again because consistently I find that they are the highest quality pencils that I have used, and I truly love them. Now I realize that a fan favorite in the watercolor world typically is the Palomino Blackwing pencils. I have never used them, so I can't speak to how they would be better or worse than these, but I can speak to how high quality these particular pencils are. They never break, they are so easy to sharpen to a very fine point, and truly they last. They're also easy to find, so whenever I need a replacement to one of these pencils, I can get them individually from either like a Michael's or an art supply store like that. So I love them for the availability, I love them for just the general usability, and I will continue to use these pencils, you know, until I find a better alternative. Next, I've got multiple types of erasers here. I have the Faber Castell Kneaded eraser and the Tombow Mono Zero erasers. I use these things to death. I absolutely love them. I think that they are fantastic erasers. I will say that the Faber Castell Kneaded eraser can be somewhat sticky after a period of time. So if you don't like sticky kneaded erasers, then this might not be the one for you if you prefer more like harder kneaded erasers that are a little bit harder to actually like knead, but are not going to leave a residue on your paper. This one might not be the one for you. I personally don't mind that, so I am perfectly okay with the Faber Castell Kneaded eraser. The last tool in this category that I have to talk about are the Faber Castell Pitt pens. Now I have repurchased these again and again. They are such good inking pens. They are waterproof. They are available in a variety of sizes, a variety of colors. They are very widely available as far as like finding them in an art supply store or even your local Barnes & Noble. They are fantastic for lining your artwork. They are fantastic for watercolor lining specifically because again, they are waterproof. So you can line your painting before or after your painting and it will turn out beautifully. I really love these pens. Again, I have purchased them again and again. My first set of them dried out after about a year to a year and a half of use. And so I did repurchase these and I absolutely love them. I will continue to do so, and I have not yet stumbled upon a better lining pen than these. I have used the Sakura Micron pens. I have used several other pens that I've either been given in a set or have specifically tried out for like a particular painting, but will always gravitate back toward these. Let's talk now about some more miscellaneous art supplies that I absolutely love. To start with, I have my silver black velvet brushes. Now, I have had these 3 brushes for about 2 years now, and I use them on literally every single painting that I do. I love these paintbrushes so much, and I swear by them. I realize that these are a fan favorite across a lot of watercolorists. You've probably heard these recommended before, and it is with good reason. These brushes are phenomenal. They don't lose their shape. They are so good at soaking up water, and I just really highly recommend them. I did end up purchasing this flat brush about 3 months ago because I needed something that was going to be better for large flat washes. And again, worth every penny. This is a phenomenal brush. I highly recommend it. I do believe that it is sold separately from the 3-pack of brushes, so it can be difficult to find these brushes, but if you can manage to do so either in person at an art supply store or online, I do highly recommend them. They are fantastic. You will not be disappointed in them. I have tried so many watercolor brushes, and I find that often they either leave hair behind or they don't soak up as much water as you want them to, and these do not do that. These have fantastic water control. They are also brushes that come to a pretty fine point when wet, so they can be really useful as like lining brushes. And just overall, if you need like round tip or a large flat tip brush, then these are definitely the brushes for you. The next supply that I have to talk about was actually a recent find. I was finding that my tape kept pulling up my watercolor paper a lot, and it was really, really frustrating, especially when you want to get that like really nice crisp line. I wasn't achieving that because my paper kept ripping with every single type of tape that I was using. I've used the blue Scotch tape, I've used the blue masking tape, I've used regular masking tape, the thin masking tape, painter's tape. It didn't matter. Everything was not working. So finally, I went to Amazon and I looked up masking tape that is good for painting, and these masking tapes came up. They are the MT tape brand, and they are so good. I cannot recommend these tapes enough. I have loved working with them ever since I purchased them, and I can guarantee that I will be purchasing them again and again throughout my art journey as I continue to use them, because they are just fantastic. The next supply is a little bit random. It is my Procelain watercolor palette. Now, I ended up getting this with my Sennelier watercolors. It came with the set, and I really like it. I typically don't use a porcelain palette. I typically use the metal palette that my watercolors are in. So generally I don't need this, but this is perfect for gouache. I use it all the time for gouache painting. It is a really great little palette, and if you don't already own a porcelain palette, I recommend that you find one online. They are really readily available and are just really nice painting surfaces. Speaking about painting surfaces, this hardboard panel is what I do most of my paintings on. I have a larger one as well, but since typically my paintings will fit on this one, I tend to use it. As you can see, it is pretty well worn, and that is because it is a fantastic art supply. If you don't have like a surface that you can tape your art to, like I have here in this board, and actually my desk is covered in glass, so I could just put my painting directly onto the glass, but I really do prefer this, both because of its portability after it's been taped down, and also because it just gives me a nice consistent surface to work on. And that concludes my favorite ride or die art supplies. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate your time and attention, and I hope that you will please give this video a big thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. Thank you guys so much. Let me know what your favorite watercolor supplies are, or if you've tried any of these below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much. Bye.